Hey friends and family, hope you guys are all doing well, staying home, saving lives and quarantining. I just want to add value to my circle of friends or in family. I know I don't really share too much personally, maybe because people don't want to hear me, I don't know, but I feel that it's important at this time to maybe just do it and not care. And so whatever criticisms you have, if you don't like it, cut it out. I don't need to see it or see the comments, whatever. You have a criticism, do your own video, post it, share it, and put some proof behind it and teach me, okay? If not, then I'm going to share what I have and back up what I have to share that I feel it's important, okay? So there's different approaches at this. I want to talk about our current state of environment, I guess. Now there's a biblical approach to it, which is just set the foundation is to, no matter what the situation is, hold near to God, trust in Him, have hope in Him, whether the situation is good or bad, as a foundation. That you would have a calm spirit, no matter what happens, and if you lose that, then we need to realign. It's revealing what's really in our heart. That we're not really holding on to God, and we're holding on to things of this world, and then we're worrying and getting anxiety and all this other stuff, right? And we do hold near to God, we know everything's going to work out according to His plan, and it'll all be all good. Now, on top of that, don't just sit around, right? You still got to, if for example, Joseph knew that the famine was coming. Well, don't just sit around and say, hey, God says this, we're good. God's going to take care of everything, we're good, right? But no, He store grains and whatnot and kind of prepared. So this is kind of what I'm kind of like having the approach of like, hey, not that I got a prophetic whatever, I'm just saying this is what I've learned and this is what I'm sharing, and then I feel like this is important that you should be aware of and maybe take some action on it too, okay? Alright, so here's my PowerPoint, Hien's personal share, I just call it. I don't know if any of you guys know, but when I was kind of going through life, I realized that there's just something wrong with the monetary system. When I was working as an engineer, pulling maybe $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 a year, and then realizing like, hey, I don't really have much left because of taxes and higher gas prices / credit cards / loan payments / whatever, right? And at the end of the day, I'm like, dude, like what's going on? So I worked harder. And as I worked harder, I got taxed even more. And I'm like, is there a way out, right? So anyways, I kind of eventually went through a period of financial struggles. Finally say, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't know what money is. Finally watched some YouTube videos on it. Finally learned out that, wow, this monetary system that we have, it was kind of set up to fail already. Many countries, many empires like the Roman Empire all fell from within because they printed money backed by nothing out of thin air. So since 1971, when we were off the gold system, was because of wars. We spent too much in Vietnam and whatever, and then we were in a sense the banker for the world. But now we're basically printing money without any backing since 1971. Well, the Federal Reserve was created way before then, I believe. There's a history behind 1931 or whatever. I'll let them explain that in those videos because they're better at it. I just want to kind of touch on the main points, and then you could kind of say, hey, maybe I should look into this and kind of investigate it more with other videos, okay? So I'll put that in the description of this video so that you can see that, okay? So I feel that we're already been bankrupt. It's no longer for the people, by the people. It's for the bankers, by the bankers. As they don't care who makes the laws as long as they can control the money supply. Okay. If you don't have the money to do it, you can't do anything and whatnot. Okay. And with that, it's like saying, hey, you know what? I want to buy something, right? So they go, well, we take dollars, and let's say you want to buy oil from Saudi Arabia, right? They're like, yeah, we take dollars. Like, great. So let me go work and do something to pay for these, to buy these dollars, right? Because I want to buy some oil. And as you get these dollars, like, oh, wait a minute, you know, we need to tax you on that income. We're going to take 30% off. Okay, I didn't realize that. So now you have 2/3 left that you're going to use to buy that less oil that you need. And then, by the way, since they're also using that, putting into a banking system, inflating that through a fractional reserve system, there's more money go around. As you go back to buy that oil, oh wait, the price has increased. Oh, really? Okay. So it kind of starts to put you in this perpetual spiral of trying to get something, but then you're kind of like running around in circles, working for this dollar that is diminishing your purchasing power over time. See, as you can see, gas prices are down now because they're crashing because of this COVID stuff, right? No one needs it. And that is all fueled, that fuels other countries. Today it crashed down to like negative something, which is based on futures. Like, how can you go and crash below a negative price? And usually with that, that's gonna cause wars. Okay. Here's the article here. It plunged into negative territories. Okay. And it used to be $6 a barrel. Now it's like negative 32 because we have so much oil that no one needs right now, and they're paying people to take the oil off their hands. Okay, it's just like insane. Okay, Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, us, our economies are built on this energy that's crashed now, right? And so we're gonna have to basically bail out these oil companies, U.S. oil companies, who borrowed money from the banks to, you know, invest into kind of like do business, basically, right? So basically the business is going out of business, and if the money that these oil companies can't pay, basically then means the banks can't pay, which means the banks gonna fail too, right? So we can't let that domino be knocked over. So guess what? The Federal Reserve, the lender of last resort, is gonna go in and bail them out, printing more money to do that. Okay. War. Yes. Okay. So anyways, I'll give you that. So this is kind of like, I'm going to touch on this. Through it all, there's economic slavery. And yes, we should submit to our government. This is the way it is. And there's two ways to look at it. Like, okay, well, I can support this government because basically it is all this money supply that we have money, you have money, because there's debt created. We can support it by creating debt if you know how to use it, by getting lots of money, buying properties, and renting them out at high rental prices, basically creating more slaves to you in order for you to be free from the slavery system. I feel like it's really bad. Like, I feel like I have to enslave more people in order for me to be free. It's all about the cash flow, not about the cash, because the cash reduces its purchasing power. But if you can get more cash flow come in, it's not about how much you accumulate the capital. It's about what's flowing in and what's flowing out. If I have more that flows out, then I'm enslaved to that flow out. I have to go and find out more income to flow that in. Either I have to work for it, or I could enslave someone else through rental properties, or rent my Airbnbs, or selling a product at a purchase price that maybe is a little higher because I had to cut a profit, but my supplies cost so much more too, and it just kicks it down to the consumer, basically. Okay. All right, rant. This is kind of, call it a rant if you want to. Okay. So, anyways, I feel like war is coming. Mike Maloney, who does Hidden Secrets of Money, I recommend you watch all 10 videos of those as he lays out the history from start to finish and where our empire, or U.S. empire, is heading. Okay. We're at a point where we're going to have a deflation. It might be a quick deflation. Okay. And as it deflates, they're going to try to bring it back up. They're going to give stimulus packages. They're going to give monthly paycheck protection programs, monthly whatever. And they're going to try to stimulate the economy. But we're scared. We're all scared. We're going to keep and save that money. We're not going to spend it. And they're going to keep pumping more and more and more. And it gets to the point where we're like, hey, you know what? I have 100K in my account. I have $1 million. You have $1 million. We're basically going to be broke millionaires, right? And then we're like, hey, you know what? Let's just start spending money. So since we have $1 million sitting there, right? So we're gonna start buying Ferraris, and we're gonna buy stuff, right? So as we buy stuff, that's gonna drive up all the prices. The Apples are gonna be like $500,000 for an apple or whatever, and you're like, dude, I have $1 million, but I can't even buy this apple that's $5 million or something like that, right? As a, you know, a crude, very brash example, which has happened in Weimar Germany during World War II when they inflated their dollar. Okay, now I believe that Saudi Arabia, China, and Russia, you know, they purchase our U.S. debt, and they're gonna want to cash out, or hey, you know, say, hey, you know what, we need to claim, we have a claim on this, and you can't pay us, and your oil is now crashed, right? War will then, well, probably happen because they're gonna lay stake to it. It's like, hey, if you don't want to pay up, then we need to take some U.S. land or whatever, and we're gonna be like, oh, heck no, we're gonna let that happen. We're gonna fight for that, and who knows, right? I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but be ready, okay? I hope I'm wrong that maybe this will blow over. They'll print money, and we'll just be like Japan, like a zombie economy where everyone's just working to death and trying to pay off. They're basically at the end of the day working 12-hour shifts and 20-hour shifts, and they're passing out, and yet they have nothing to show for at the end of the day because they're paying debt. Okay. Alright, so I think we already talked about this, where they're going to have to bail out the oil companies who borrow money from the banks because we don't want our banks to fail. There could be bank runs as people don't want their bank to fail or lose their money. And as they do that, well, I guess they don't have a Federal Reserve requirement anymore, so they can print more and not have to worry about that. It might be all digital, I don't know, but what I'm doing, I got some precious metals sitting there for this day. It's more like an insurance plan. You can't really use it yet, but once the deflation happens and the hyperinflation does take off, that's when the precious metals start to come into play. But right now, cash position is where you want to be. Maybe cash in hand rather than cash in the bank. Because instead of bail out, if they don't bail out, they might have a bail in, I believe, which is where you as a depositor pays for the banks to not fail. Okay, so you lose your deposits basically. Okay, now I'm not just saying that, you know, to fear, you know, all that stuff, but maybe research bail in banks. I don't know, something like that. Maybe see there's a history. When the bank uses the insecurity creditors, include depositors, bondholders, to do structured capital so they can stay afloat. Banks are required to use the deposit in excess of $250,000. So maybe there you go. As long as you have less than $250,000, you're okay. Maybe, I don't know. But maybe research that a little bit. But big banks that are too big to fail, those are the ones that are more likely, I believe, to need it. I moved cash to either personally, I moved it to a whole life insurance policy. That's a participating whole life insurance policy. I don't know who they bank with. I don't know if this whole thing blows up and things really hit the fan. It probably doesn't matter anyway where you move it, because God's in control and it doesn't really matter, right? You do all you want, but it's just all monopoly money. They're gonna basically, game's over. They're gonna take all the pieces on the money that's distributed, put it back in the board box, and put it away, and it doesn't matter, right? So I remember back in the day, before big agriculture came in, we were all farmers. I believe we were all backyard farmers. Backyard farm. Let me Google this here. 30s. Let's see here. Let's pull some images out. Oops. And I think that's the skill that we need to start thinking about doing right now. Because with all the restaurants shut down and COVID and whatnot, people are actually dumping the milk in the drain. And then let's see, nowhere to go, dairy farmers, and this is recent news, I believe, August 6, 2020, April 6, 2020. Dairy farmers are gonna dump their milk down the drain. They can't sell it, and there's no demand for it because the restaurants aren't using it. There's less ice cream, less whatever, and then there's onion farmers. I saw onion farms disposing onions, plowing ground, something. So all this food that's produced leads to food waste. Nation's farmers just, plowed vegetables, smashed eggs, food waste. Just they can't. There's like this bridge, the supply chain, and they can't bring that food into town anymore because there's no demand for it because all the restaurants are shut down. So eventually, the farmer's gonna go out of business, and eventually, like, hey, you know what? Now the supermarkets can't get enough supply. Well, there's gonna be less food and less whatever. Guess what? We're gonna have to raise the price. So that bill buried millions of pounds of onions in South Florida, and there's just beans, cabbage. There's just tons of food that they can't get. They can't even donate. It's like, because then who's gonna pay to move those onions to a donation so they can lose money? Like, I'd rather just plow it, right? I don't have the money to move it across town so that I can give it away for free. It's better I just dump it and just plow it underground, and then I could use maybe the waste for next year's whatever. Okay. All right. So farms should fail too, and when that happens, price of food was gonna go up. I remember now. I know that during the famine in the Bible, I think the premise, the aim is to have faith in God. And that's the heart issue. Is just focus on that heart issue, okay? But since I'm the guy that says, hey, let me just pick out the bits and parts of what I can use here, that Pharaoh heard about it and he stored food and grain. He didn't store gold or silver. And when the famine hit, Joseph told Pharaoh to store all that, right? And when the famine hit, everyone had gold and silver. It's like, dude, what am I going to do with that? I can't survive off gold and silver. I need to trade that for food. And so Pharaoh then traded his grain for gold and silver and people's lands, and then eventually told him to work the land and here's some seeds so that you can plow my land, and basically enslaved everybody at the end of the day, right? Now, I'm not saying that this is the route to go. I'm just saying that, hey, maybe you should probably have a background farm or something like that so that you can not be dependent on someone else handing out food and then you having to be enslaved to that. I don't know, whatever. Okay, so maybe aquaponics, maybe learn a new skill, nutrients, start a little seed packet, seed whatever. Start saving your seeds and start planting them, because it's gonna take some time for you to need it, right? Or for it to grow. Not be like, okay, I'm hungry tomorrow, but dude, my plants hasn't grown yet. You have to start this today, okay? So basically, what I'm doing, educate yourself on the monetary system. I'll put some videos below. Certain parts I feel you don't need, but there's some certain parts where you might want to know because they're using the dollar as a weapon. It's used to enslave other countries too, not just us. There's this thing called economic hitman, where they use that dollar to enslave another country. They say, hey, here's some money that I'll print for you. You need some resources, some infrastructure like a water plant. Great. We have an American company that will help you do that. Oh, wait, you can't pay it back. Well, let me have your oil, or let me put a military base on your land, and we basically conquer them without having to fire a bullet. Okay, which is smart. It's genius. Why send people in lives and when you could just enslave a country, right? It's smart. I'd do it. I know if I was, kind of thing. So God's control no matter what. All right, and then learning how to grow your own food. I believe, and arm yourself. I believe that people who don't have or who aren't doing this, they're gonna pillage. They're gonna break in. They're gonna steal. Especially in the city, right? Because, so I would get out of the city too. Pick up some precious metals if you can, and just basically educate yourself. Learn how to prepare for the next. It's gonna be very interesting. I don't know what's going on with COVID and all this other stuff, and then if wars come in and who knows what, it's gonna be quite a ride. Okay. Don't forget to hug one another. Don't forget to reach out to your friends and family. Say what you need to say. Talk what you gotta talk. It'll be very interesting. Okay. So this is where I'm at, and then learn about new things. That's why you have all these preppers and survivors who've been prepping for this very moment, and I hope that it doesn't happen. I hope that all that prepping was all for naught. I really do. But for that one chance that if it is going where we think it's going, let's be prudent, right? Let's not just wait around. Let's not wait and depend on a government to bail us out or send us a check, because that's not going to solve your problems. Okay, that's not going to feed your family. You know, you're gonna need to pick up some new skills. Programming is not going to feed your family anymore. You're gonna have to grow food. Okay, buy some goats, buy some chickens, build a chicken farm, something. All right. So that's all I have for today. You have any questions, comment below, and I'll do my best to answer that. Definitely watch these videos before you do comment, so that we kind of are on the same page, and that we're not like, you know, like you ask a question, well, did you watch this? No, well, go watch it. All right. You're gonna have to work in a sense, but you're gonna have to learn, re-educate yourself. You're gonna have to put the effort to learn about this new environment here, and then based on that, make some decisions based on what you know, kind of thing. Okay. Now I'm gonna put the analogy of the Matrix, because that was kind of like the hidden message behind it, in a sense. Like, we're all kind of enslaved to the system, which is fine, right? Like, I'd rather be. I mean, we're all gonna be enslaved to God also. First and foremost, he paid for our lives with a price, and the price was his son. And he's a much better taskmaster than sin, okay? Which makes us do things that are detriment to us, our souls, and all this other stuff. And so God puts governments in place for us to be enslaved to. And I will still support this government. And I'm kind of thinking to my wife, like, hey, do I really want to... Do I need to play this game and help support this? Do I need to take on a loan? Do I need to take on debt? Do I need to... And I'm still debating. I'm still trying to think about this, because, of course, if it all fails, and we try our best, but if it all fails, guess what? We get bailed out. You know, it's kind of thing, right? But then, guess what? We created jobs. Someone can feed their families, kind of thing. So you have to decide whether you want to play this game, because if all our debt was paid off, we would have no money. It would basically crash our economy anyway, because there'd be no money in circulation. There'd be no currency or paper dollars in circulation. So money is created out of debt. Every dollar that you hold, you know someone owes that somewhere. Someone is enslaved to that somewhere. And yeah, it's just, and it's sad to learn about this, and it's just the way it is. And I feel like just the human nature at all. Me as an employer, I try to also free my employees I have over in the Philippines. I try to give them incentives and part of the cash flow. If they earn so much, they'll get it. But guess what? We squandered that. And I feel like I still have to, I can't give them that. And I have to put them on the hourly. I have to give them the hourly pay or commission only, not both. All right? Because then they can just sit on their butts and not really do anything. And then the whole system falls apart anyway. I have to keep them working. So yeah. So anyways, to kind of put a closure to this, I just remember there's this video called Hero by Jet Li. And it was a theme by this thing called All Under Heaven, right? And that was just their way of saying it. And they're trying to unify China at the time, and there's, I think, whoever the general Xi or Hien, whatever empire, whichever Chinese empire, I forget what it was, they were trying to unify China. And through unifying China, people will have to die. People will have to be, war will happen, people will get shot by, people will get murdered through fights and wars and whatever. But everyone saw him as a tyrant, like he's a greedy tyrant trying to, globalize everything or unify China. But they didn't see his deep premise was to unify China for peace. And so the assassins that were in that video were able to nick him in the neck, and he realized that, hey, if I assassinate this emperor, everything's gonna fall into factions all over again. And guess what? Someone's gonna try to unify it again. Someone's gonna try to build up and globalize. Someone's gonna do it again, and I'm just tired. Let's just let him globalize or unify China, and let's just have peace for a while, okay? And so, in a sense, All Under Heaven was basically saying, let's all unite under heaven, all the little different Chinese tribes, the Xi Empire, the Zen Empire, the whoever, Wuhan, whatever empire, um, and just kind of be one Chinese unified China, basically. And so hopefully that makes kind of sense. And like, whatever happens, if we go to war, I will support the U.S. I will fight if I need to. If I'm called and, you know, what's it called, drafted at this age, even though I have 3 kids or whatever, I will go. Okay. For that. Now you can decide, hey, maybe that's not for me. I don't know how to fight. Whatever. You can hunker down. It's all good. And that's your choice too, right? But with our government's taking care of us much we can. I noticed that, you know, with our healthcare system, my kid was sick. I didn't have money to pay. Medical, Medicaid, they've taken care of him. So, you know, and they've taken care of our freedom as far as what we know until we realize what they're doing. But it's still not as bad as you would say, you know, back in the day in like Weimar Germany, or, you know, the Nazi camps or whatever, or other countries where there's no running water, not even cleanliness or whatever. I'd say let's not be spoiled, okay, and let's do our part. Let's serve our government the best we can. And this power of globalization or central whatever was started way before we were ever born. So it's a force or a power that's beyond our control, really. And whether you join and fight or not, probably doesn't matter. It's gonna happen. God's in control. And sometimes I do feel like, hey, when you join the military, like, what are you really fighting for? We're not really fighting for freedom. I don't know. People say they're still fighting for the freedom, maybe. But really, we're just fighting for I believe, the bankers who are trying to globalize and enslave other countries. And, you know, if you don't use the dollar, you're going to have issues with China. Like, China trying to get off our dollar, Russians are getting off our dollar. If you don't go to the Saudis and they're not in play, of course, something's going to happen there. Syria, Venezuela, they're not, you know, using our dollar or our oil, whatever. We're going to have... So basically, it was kind of like Iraq, right? In economic hitman, it's more like, hey, if Saddam doesn't get in line with us, he had doubles and whatnot, and we couldn't take him out, then we have to assume that they have weapons of mass destruction. Why? Because, well, we sold it to them, right? I talked to an army person that was there. He's like, yeah, there's a lot of half troops in there. We couldn't say that he had weapons of mass destruction because it had our U.S. serial numbers on it, so we just say that, you know, it was shipped out to Syria, right? So now they have the weapons, the gassing stuff, right? And that's what they use to gas their people. So we kind of funded some of the wars too, I'd say. A lot of half troops there. And I don't know, like you said, other controversies of like 9/11. We need another Pearl Harbor type attack to start a war. And this COVID thing, which supposedly came in a lab, I'll link that too, and you can decide for yourself, was developed in the U.S., somehow brought to China, and I don't know what the detail of the story, but somehow it was either released or whatever. And so China blames us, we blame China, I don't know. And so the war might be because of that. 9/11, buildings don't fall straight down. You can see in World War II, towers being in cities being bombed out, but their frames stood. It just they blew out the walls basically, but in tons of fire too. It still stood, or it fell over. You know, they don't collapse in a nice clean implosion, as if it was with nice little puffs of smoke on the side, as it kind of like a demolition would, right? So anyways, there's a video, you can probably look it up on YouTube to find out what that is. You can decide for yourself. Pearl Harbor, fantastic radar, but that 1 hour that they turned it off just to repairs, a whole raid of Japanese came and raided Pearl Harbor, and now we had to sell a war. Now we can sell a war to go to World War II. So I believe that we have to kind of fabricate these atrocities because we can't just go to war, right? Like, oh, because we'll be looked at as tyrants. But if we can fabricate a reason to go to war because they did this to us, then we're like the heroes, and it makes sense to go and attack, you know, whoever and get them back in line to the dollar and all this other stuff. So, all right, my rant's over. definitely use what you can from here. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, hopefully opens your eyes and you make some decisions for your family, how you best prepare for and take care of them. And yeah, any questions, let me know. Talk to you then.